Howdy folks, this here is Magnus Booner. If you like beer, food, travel, and the outdoors, smack that subscribe button for me. You do not want to miss any of my epic content. In this video, I am going to make some chanterelle mushroom risotto with some pepper jack cheese in there. And I've also got some braised beef shank going that I'm going to show you how to make. It's kind of a hillbilly Pacific Northwest ossobuco with risotto.
Roast.
So the first thing we're going to do is get some salt on this meat. Got the good old Morton Kosher salt. Now we're going to create some tasty melanoidins by searing the shank. I've got my favorite Birmingham stove and range number 8 cast iron. It's good and hot. Oh yeah, surface temp is about 480. So I've got my Magnus Booner proprietary lubricant. It's 2/3 avocado oil, 2/3 ghee. We'll just give those 3 or 4 minutes each side to create some crispy, tasty melanoidins. Alright, let's take a peek at these. Do you see those yummy brown bits? That's going to taste delicious. Now that we've got some nice brown bits on those, we're going to add our braising liquid. So I've been braising beef for a couple of years now. And my braising liquid started out as some yellow beer and I think some bay leaves and rosemary, etc. because it's got such a rich, dense, beefy flavor. I'll cook with it, and then I'll put it in a jar and freeze it, and then I'll cook with it, put it in a jar and freeze it. And so it just keeps getting concentrated and beefier and beefier. I brought it out here, brought it up to a simmer, and now we're just going to add it in here. Oh yeah. Now we're going to get bits all over our range top. I get to clean up here in a second. So we could simmer this on the stove top if we wanted to, but for simplicity, I've got the oven at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm just going to put a cover on that, stick it in the oven, let it simmer for 3-4 hours until that meat's falling off those bones. I'll check the liquid periodically, and if I'm getting too much evaporation, I'll top it up with either water or yellow beer. Now, we're going to get going on this risotto. We're going to need 1 cup of wine. You use a dry white wine. I've got this Globberati brand. It's a Sauvignon Blanc. It's Chilean. It was about $7. That sounds like a good price to pay for cooking wine. We're going to need to prep 1 cup of that. I don't know shit about tasting wine. Maybe that's garbage. I don't know. I get this Zoop good, really good bone broth. It's some kind of hippy-dippy shit that I think it's local to me. Real local to me. It's made in Southfield, Missouri. But they say to shake it up because you can say there's some goodness that sticks to the bottom. And I like to bring this up to a simmer. That's just going to make the risotto take less time as it uptakes the moisture during the cooking process. I've got 2 diced shallots that I'm going to saute. Starting out with 2 tablespoons of butter. I like to use shallots because everybody knows onions are for poor people. So I'm going to saute those until they're soft, translucent, probably about 5 minutes on medium heat. They're going to develop a little color. it's important you keep your long hair out of the food. People don't like when they get that nasty hair. Alright, that's been about 5 minutes. I'm calling that translucent. Now we're going to add in these chanterelle mushrooms. They've been dry sautéed. It's kind of a standard process we do. This would be about 240 grams if they were fresh, 8 ounces-ish. It's 120 grams once they've been dry sautéed. We're going to dump those in. To that, we're going to add a good amount of black pepper. As you all know, I'm a huge fan of this stuff, so I go a little heavy-handed. We're going to add in a tablespoon of this Italian herb blend. I blend my own, so I've got it in this big thing here. That's a tablespoon if I've ever seen one. Also a good time tossing a bay leaf. So now I'm going to remove that from the pot and set it aside because now it's time to get that rice nice and toasty. We toast it in the butter. That is key to making this delicious. We've got this Arborio rice. We got about 2 cups. I think that's 400 grams because, you know, I love my gram scale. Alright, that butter is melty. We're going to toss this in. We're going to stir it up to coat all of that rice in butter. And then we're going to cook it for about 2 minutes. It's going to get toasty. So it's important that you do not rinse this rice. This is not like the Asian rices that you make your fried rice out of that require a thorough rinsing. This is processed differently, so it's cleaner and doesn't require that. Likewise, there's starch on it that we need. Oh, I wish you could smell this. It is smelling so nice. There's starch on it that we need to help thicken this and make it all starchy and wonderful. Now it's time for that 1 cup of white wine. So we're going to cook this until that wine's mostly absorbed. Then we're going to add back in those mushrooms and those shallots. See how milky that is? That's those starches I was talking about. Alright, we're going to call that mostly absorbed. Let's add back in that mushroom shallot mixture. Sometimes I like to use my fingers. Alright, now it's a process of just adding moisture and cooking off moisture. We're going to add about a cup of this broth, which I'm calling a ladle and a half. You see, when it leaves those trails like that, that's when we call it mostly absorbed, and we add another cup. There's 4 cups, so ideally we'll add liquid 4 times. We'll see how good I am at eyeballing it. Having this hot just keeps it from cooling it down every time we add some, making the process take longer. I've got my dial set at 5, which is medium heat for me. That seems to work really well. You can see that rice is starting to swell and get nice and plump. Does it make me look sexy when I stir it? Oh yeah, get in there, do it. Make it gooey. Alright, that's about at the consistency. It's time to add another cup of liquid. Oh yeah, I like it when it swells up. I think I'm going to switch that to the back burner and go take a piss break. But don't worry, I'll remember to wash my hands. The key to this risotto is the gooey stuff out of the bone. That is sufficiently absorbed. Time for that last cup of liquid. There's a note here to cook till it's al dente and that I may not need all of the broth. Pretty sure I've done this enough times. It's always turned out that I have, but you know, taste it before you go dumping in the rest of it. Amateur. That's about getting there. That liquid's looking nice. Rice is plump. I've reduced the heat a little, down to low. 1.5 to 2 on the dial for me. Let's see how this rice has come along. It's almost there. It's about 120 grams of Tillamook pepper jack cheese. We will just stir that in and let it get melty. I get excited when the cheese gets melty. So now that we're at the end of the process, I like to add just a couple more shakes of that Italian herb blend, and that's about getting the aroma out of those herbs. I'll put the recipe for that blend down in the description box. I don't like using the pre-mixed stuff. So I like to wait to the very end to adjust my salt. That is because the cheese and the bone broth bring some salt to the table, and I don't want to overdo it. You can always add this in. It's much harder to take it out. Let's start with a good teaspoon. About a teaspoon. I think that's where we want to be. Make sure it's good and stirred and give it just one more taste. It's hard to stir and video at the same time. Just a little more fresh ground pepper. Now is the true key to this recipe. This is the part where I put my bone goo right in the risotto. My bone goo makes it taste delicious. So I just poke that right out of there. Poke that one right out of there. Take Mr. Chef's knife. Give it a little mince. Now I'm gonna dump a load of my bone goo right in that rice. The more bone goo, the better. We pulled that beef shank out of the oven after about 4.5 hours. It fell right off those bones. Now we're going to serve this up. There it is. We got a nice serving of that risotto and some ooey gooey beef shank. Alright, let's give this a go. That beef shank is so rich. So meaty. It's cooked down, it's gooey. That is about the most beefy and delicious thing you could make. Let's have a little piece of shank with some risotto. Oh my god. This is why the fall is my favorite part of the year. You got all those wonderful mushrooms in the forest, and it's the last bit of joy I'm going to have before my seasonal depression kicks in. That risotto is nutty. It's cheesy. It's got a richness to it that's kind of hard to describe. That is so delicious. I'm in fat kid heaven. Did you see that big nasty piece of beef fat? And that last bite. Ugh. I think I got that beef fat caught right in my aorta. It's no joke. A little piece of bone. Show you a little piece of bone. Well, hey, I'll tell you what. If you enjoyed that video, or at least was a little amused, give me a thumbs up at the bottom there. Please comment, that helps with the algorithms. Find me on Instagram, this is my Instagram handle. Find me on Twitter, this is my Twitter handle. And you can find me on Facebook right here. I am Magnus Booner. We'll be bringing you another epic video real soon.
Gross.